I joined Phi Delta Epsilon back in the fall of 2009. I think I was in my sophomore year, and I joined initially because I wanted to be a part of an organization that had the same sort of ideology as I did. Not necessarily, oh, we all think the same way, but we all want to be pre-med, we all want to go to medical school. Before that, I was very shy, I didn't really talk to a whole lot of people, I wasn't really involved on campus, and I thought that this would be a great way for me to get involved, or at least get my foot in the door. Definitely the idea of facta non verba, our motto, deeds not words, because before I joined Phi, I was very much like, I was always proud of what I did and I always wanted everyone to know about it. After being in Phi Delta Epsilon for like 2-3 semesters, I sort of realized that it's not really about getting the recognition for what you do, it's more about just always doing the right thing, no matter what the circumstance, no matter who's around, no matter who's watching, because it's the most important thing one can do is the right thing at all times, and I think that's a very important thing for a doctor to have as well. So. I wouldn't be able to tell you that right now just because I haven't started medical school yet, but I think the fact that I had to handle so many responsibilities in the fraternity while working on my GPA, taking all my classes and everything else, I think it definitely taught me how to time manage and how to effectively time manage. So I think what it definitely prepared me to do was to handle excessive workloads, which I'm assuming is what medical school will have to offer to begin with. So when I come back and tell you guys about it, then I'll probably be able to give you a better answer, but I would say yes. I would say have an understanding of professionalism, community service, community involvement, scientific background, good study habits, and things like those are very general things that one has to have, but those are all things that one gets from Phi Delta Epsilon. But having the professionalism, the ability to study correctly, having a studious attitude, time management, having community involvement are all things that will prepare you for it, because as much as everyone says medical school is a whole bunch of studying, from what I've heard from other students, you're still getting involved in the community, you're still doing a lot of other stuff while just studying, and you're always going to be put in professional situations. So those things are definitely what I would want to focus on if I was a pre-medical student. Definitely. First and foremost, the professionalism. We are a professional fraternity, and in that I have leadership positions, I definitely had to maintain my professionalism almost all the time. I let it slip every once in a while, but I mean, you're among family and friends, so it's not too big of a deal when it happens. Community involvement, most definitely. One of the main tenets we promote is philanthropy, and so it's having a philanthropic attitude to the community, giving up your time to help other people out whenever you can. Time management skills. You're a part of a fraternity that does a lot of events, and you're doing a lot of hardcore science courses, so you're definitely getting that, whether you're actively getting it or passively getting it. So, most definitely. Pretty heavily. I mean, they often say you have to choose between social life, sleep, and studying to sort of do well when you're pre-med. I don't know if you've seen that little triangle thing they have all over the internet. I most of the time stuck with sleep and studying, but often I would sacrifice sleep to go for social life and studying and such. But it really did heavily affect it. I would often not see my family for 3 or 4 days on end because I would go to class and then have a night shift in the emergency room and repeat the whole thing, have a fraternity event, do something with associated students, what have you. And it really strained my friendships outside of the fraternity and outside of CSUN, because they'd want to hang out because they're not pre-med and they have not necessarily more time, but they have weekends available. And I'd be like, I'm sorry, I have to study, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. So it definitely impacted it in, I wouldn't say in too negative of a fashion. I just would have been nice to see my family and friends a little more, but I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it was worth it. Phi Delta Epsilon as a whole definitely impacted me, but I think the most impact that I got on my character and me as an individual person and my ability in the community came from being in leadership positions. I was the VP of recruitment for a year, I think 2011 and 2012, and then the president of Phi Delta Epsilon from 2012 to 2013. Prior to that, I had a couple chair positions, recruitment and resource development, but that's neither here nor there. Having those leadership positions sort of made me have to get more involved in the fraternity, and not in a bad way, in a way that made me excited, because I got to essentially become Phi Delta Epsilon. I really became to understand facta non verba, came to understand philanthropy, deity, equity, education, what have you, our mission statement, what we stand for as a whole. And having to do that in addition to all my classes helped me to learn how to time manage more effectively, taught me how to speak better publicly. It taught me how to mentor people, inspire people. It just taught me how to be a much better person overall, and I can walk into just about any team at this point, sit down, watch what's going on, and if I feel like I need to take charge, I can take charge if necessary. And I wasn't just involved in Phi Delta Epsilon leadership, I was also involved in Associated Students. Being a part of Associated Students, it's not a scientific thing, it's not a pre-medical thing, you are supporting and making a difference in the CSUN community thing. And it taught me, again, how to be a better leader, publicly speak, how to talk to people of different professional backgrounds. And I think just as a whole, having a leadership position makes such an impact on you. It changes you so much for the better, and it teaches you about your weaknesses and your strengths, more importantly, your weaknesses. And I think that is going to make me a better physician for it. I did. I initially told myself I was going to be in medical school within 4 years, and so I would have had to take my MCAT my junior year, apply that same year, blah, 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 and it just didn't work out that way. And I felt so rushed, not because other people were pressuring me to do it, it was more because I was pressuring myself to do it. And then when I took my MCAT in July of 2011, I realized, if I apply right now, I'm not only going to waste my time and energy, but any sense of preparedness or confidence that I have in myself. And so I sort of came to terms over time with applying after 5 years. And it wasn't such a bad thing. Everyone tells you it's okay to take your time. And the only person who's going to be able to rush you or slow you down is yourself. So don't rush yourself, or you're going to make a few mistakes here and there that are going to be very detrimental to yourself. But don't take too long, because why take extra time if you don't need it? So that's a vain answer, honestly, because it wasn't so much that I was like, yes, I'm clearly mature enough at the age of 22 to apply to medical school. It was, I was tired of being pre-med. I'd been in an emergency room for about 2 years prior to when I was applying, about a year prior to when I was applying. I've been a part of FIDE for 3 years, associated. I've been doing a lot of talking to physicians and all that stuff, and I felt that given everything that I had done, that I was ready to move on to the next stage, which was become a medical student. Maybe I could use a little more maturing, but that's going to come along the way as with anything else. I mean, I'd rather be in medical school maturing than not in medical school maturing, and I was just really tired of being pre-med. I was ready. I just sort of knew, I don't know how to explain it, you just sort of know when it's the right time to apply, and given that, you just go with it. Applying to medical school. It was the waiting. I am not, for the most part, a very patient person. And what I found with the MCAT, as difficult as it was, there were things that you could do to affect the outcome of your MCAT. You could study more, you could take a little bit of time off, you could take an extra practice test, you can postpone it. With applying for medical school, you submit your application, and I compare it to fishing. You're in a boat, you got a fishing rod, you cast it in. The fish are medical schools, you're the fisherman. And imagine there's 5 fish and 1,000 fishermen around you. You're hoping that they'll bite, and it's basically just a waiting game. You wait for them to get back to you, and the waiting was definitely the worst part for me. Back and forth between easier and harder. When I was applying, for the most part, easier, definitely, because I always had someone to talk to. I always had someone who was there to support me or remind me that I'm great, or hey, calm yourself, you're going to be fine, things like that. But it also made it difficult sometimes because, and this is going to sound extremely arrogant, but a lot of members would come to me and say, hey, how's the application process? Oh my God, if you don't get in, there's no hope for us. And so I kind of had my own life on my shoulders, I had my family's life on my shoulders, I had my friends, and then I had an entire fraternity saying, if you don't get in, there's no hope for us. And so it was adding, I know what they were trying to get at, but it was really adding to my stress. But I mean, I understand why they did it, and definitely 90% of the time, 95% of the time, the fraternity made my life so much easier. But that one little bit made it a little more difficult. The members, and the sense of family that I had, because I had 2 families at CSUN. It was Associated Students and Phi Delta Epsilon, and I always was more attached to Phi Delta Epsilon, probably because of all the involvement I had within it, but it's going to be tough to sort of go to a new school where I don't know anybody, whereas from CSUN, I'd walk on campus, and just within the first 5 minutes of walking on campus, I was saying hello to just about everyone that I saw. So, the members. Biggest advice I would give to a pre-medical student: be enthusiastic. The fact of it was, I think I got all the information and all the data and all the networking that I got as a pre-medical student because I was probably one of the few students who walked up to just about everyone and said, "Hi, nice to meet you. I'd like to ask you about X, Y, and Z." And I would do it until I was blue in the face, until they probably got annoyed with me and were like, "Please get away from me. I'll just give you all the information you want. Just go." It happened in the hospital where I worked. I would ask all manner of questions to the physicians about just about every topic you can think of. It happened in Associated Students, and especially it happened in Phi Delta Epsilon. Enthusiasm can take you a long way. It makes you stand out because you are willing, ready, and able. So keep that enthusiasm up. First off, I'm not going to never see any of you again. It's not, I like to say it's not goodbye, it's just I'll see you guys later, or I'll see you all later, try not to be sexist. I mean, Phi DE really turned me into the person that I am today, and so above every other thing that I've done, working as a scribe, being an AS, volunteering, doing research, what have you, Phi Delta Epsilon made the most impact on me. It definitely, resolved my want to become a physician. It gave me a window into the world of being a physician that no other organization or extracurricular activity could have given me. So I just want to say thank you, basically. I want to thank everyone for everything that they did for me, whether it was, you talk to me every day or you just talk to me in passing or what have you. I tried to build at least some kind of a relationship with every single one of you. And if I didn't, I'm sorry. If I did, you made a huge impact on my life, whether you know it or not.